Who are a few of the worst people that we need to kick out of society? Let's find out. Starting with number 7, influenced driving. Macy Marie Lathers, an Instagram influencer slash model originally from New York, wound up in big trouble after causing a crash in downtown Miami. Oh, wow, another influencer doing dumb things and hurting people. How unusual. Let's find out what happened. Lathers, who has been living in Florida since 2022, was driving under the influence of a popular illegal substance used at parties. It's the powdery one, if you know what we mean. Anyway, she ran a red light and crashed into a Range Rover, which in turn crashed into a Suzuki sedan. This resulted in the tragic passing of 2 people, including a father, Abraham Ishmael, who had to be extracted from his car and later passed away at the hospital. The tragic crash also left Ishmael's wife, Juanita Hernandez, severely injured. She has been unable to work since the incident, and their 16-year-old son is now without a father, making the situation that much worse. Additionally, Ishmael's mother, who lives in Nicaragua and suffers from Parkinson's disease, is now not only grieving for a son she lost, but she was relying on him for financial support that's no longer there. Lathers admitted to police that she was under the influence of certain substances, and in a totally inappropriate moment, she claimed to be from the future. Lathers had apparently attempted to flee the scene. Why should she have to stay and face the consequences, right? But was thankfully stopped by bystanders. Police found her vomiting and clearly impaired and had been driving on a suspended license. During her court appearance, Lathers, wearing a green anti-self-harm vest, was described by prosecutors as a flight risk. She faced multiple felony charges, including driving without a license and leaving the scene of a crash. The judge presiding over the case talked about the danger Lathers posed to the community, pointing out the fact that she shouldn't have even been driving in the first place. Her bond was set at $140,000, and if posted, she'd have been placed on house arrest with a strict no driving order. Literally every part of this story didn't need to happen, making it all the more tragic. People lost their lives because Lathers wanted to party. We seriously need to kick all of these narcissistic, entitled morons out of society. Number 6, the $600,000 night out. An unnamed man in Miami was the target of a robbery after inviting a woman to his apartment following a night out. According to report, the man met the suspect at a nightclub, brought her back to his place, and she robbed him blind. Surprise, surprise. After returning to his apartment together, the guy had a few drinks and then passed out. Something that's always a good idea when you bring a stranger back to your place, right? When he woke up later that day, his safe was open and over $600,000 worth of jewelry was missing, along with the woman. Among the stolen items were a Rolex Daytona Rainbow watch, a Sky Dweller Rolex, a gold chain, Franco gold bracelets, and a rose gold diamond ring. Surveillance footage showed the woman arriving with the man and later leaving the building alone, carrying 2 cups, likely to avoid leaving behind any evidence that could be traced. Police believe that the suspect, a woman in her mid-30s with long black hair, may have spiked the man's drink with something extra and think that she has probably pulled off similar schemes before. And, hey, we're not ones to sit here and blame victims, but this is happening more and more frequently. So it makes us ask the question, are people who flaunt expensive jewelry at places such as bars and clubs making themselves easy targets? Yes, we agree that people should be allowed to have nice things and show them off if they like without fear of being robbed, but sadly, that's just not the world we live in, and it's naive to think otherwise. Not to exonerate these people committing the crimes, but do you think these guys share some of the blame? Number 5, the luxury grounding. A woman from China was removed from a flight after refusing to comply with safety regulations regarding her luxury handbag. Apparently, she felt her bag was more important than following standard flight rules. The incident took place during a flight departing from Zhangbei International Airport in China, and footage of the event was posted to the Chinese social media platform Douyin. The woman, flying in economy, had a $3,000 Louis Vuitton handbag, which she apparently cherished. When the flight crew asked her to place it under her seat for takeoff, following basic safety protocols, she refused. Instead, she insisted on keeping the bag on the seat next to her and proceeded to play on her phone, ignoring the crew's instructions. As the woman continued to disregard safety rules, the pilot made the decision to return the plane to the boarding gate. Police then boarded the aircraft and escorted her off, which sparked applause from other passengers. The video of the incident gained significant attention online, with opinions divided. Some viewers believe the situation was blown out of proportion and suggested the crew could have offered a solution, such as providing a protective bag for the luxury item. Others criticized the passengers' actions, pointing out that safety should always take precedence over personal belongings. Everyone that flies frequently knows the procedures for taking off and landing. It's a pretty standard rule that's meant to protect everyone in the event that something unexpected happens during both events. Rules are rules, and if she didn't want it on the floor, then maybe she shouldn't have brought it on a plane, or at least been prepared for it. No one was impressed by the bag anyway. Number 4. Unwrapped Bandage. Eugenio Ernesto Hernandez-Garnier, 27, and his wife, Yusleydis Blanca Loyola, were arrested at Miami International Airport after refusing to deboard an American Airlines flight. So why were they asked to leave? The couple was headed to Las Vegas, but things took a turn when the airline crew became concerned about Hernandez-Garnier's visibly wet and red head. Apparently, he had recently undergone hair transplant surgery and his bandage appeared to have been falling off. When asked to clean the wound and replace the bandage, Hernandez-Garnier said he didn't have any extra supplies. So the flight crew, understandably concerned about his medical condition and potential contamination inside the plane, we don't know how much was running down this guy's head, but it must have been enough to freak everyone out because the couple were asked to leave. However, both he and Loyola refused. Apparently, Loyola said that if they couldn't fly, then no one else could either, because you know how well that tactic works. So the crew called the police, who boarded the plane, and asked the couple to leave. They still refused, forcing the officers to place them in cuffs and escort them off the plane. Loyola, who live-streamed the incident on TikTok, can be seen protesting in Spanish, saying that her husband's head had dried and wasn't a biohazard. It seems Dr. Loyola must have missed this part of med school where they explain that dried blood can still carry pathogens that can remain infectious for some time depending on environmental conditions. The couple was evaluated at a hospital before being taken to Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center. Both faced charges of trespassing after a warning and resisting an officer. It was later revealed that neither Hernandez-Garnier nor Loyola, who had some cosmetic surgery done as well and was legit still wearing her gown, because why wouldn't she be, neither had been cleared to fly after their procedures. Passengers who had to deboard because of these morons' antics clapped as the couple was removed from the flight. Seriously, look at that guy's head. Why would he think that they would allow him to be in close proximity to other passengers looking like that? We don't know what they were going to do once they were back in Vegas, but we're betting it probably wasn't to continue working on their law degrees. Number 3. The robbery that never was. Jessica Boyazigis fabricated a story about a robbery during a supposed Tinder date in the Myrtle Beach area, getting 2 guys wrongfully arrested. Initially, Boyazigis told Horry County Police that she had been robbed at knife point by a man she met through Tinder. The alleged incident occurred at a local bar, Magoo's Sports and Spirit, starting the investigation. Authorities quickly identified 2 suspects, Kevin Doyle and Colin Turnage III. Horry County Police SWAT was called in, leading to a brief standoff, and both men were arrested. As the investigation continued, the real story began to unravel. Text messages and surveillance footage from the bar painted a very different picture. Boyazigis hadn't been on a Tinder date at all. Instead, she had arranged to purchase illegal substances and had handed over money to one of the suspects. When the individual didn't return with the goods, Boyazigis decided to concoct the robbery story. Faced with undeniable evidence, Boyazigis was arrested and charged with filing a false report of a felony. All charges against Doyle and Turnage were subsequently dismissed, clearing their names. Well, we mean they're apparently dealers, so there's probably some stuff going on with them, but they didn't rob anyone. As of the release of this video, Boyazigis is awaiting further legal proceedings for her actions. In our opinion, when crimes are reported, they should 100% be investigated to their fullest extent. Everyone deserves to be protected and believed when they say something happened to them. That said, if someone is caught straight up lying, the consequences should be far more severe, since these types of accusations can have far-reaching effects on the victims or other victims of actual crimes. Number 2. Publishers Clearinghouse dream turned nightmare. An unnamed elderly woman from Lakeland, Florida, lost over $400,000 after falling victim to an elaborate scam. Two men, Michael Lawrence and Max Richards, tricked her into believing she had won $3 million from the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes, but needed to pay taxes up front to claim the prize. Publishers Clearinghouse is a company known for giving out huge cash prizes through sweepstakes and contests. They're famous for surprising winners with cash prizes, often unexpectedly showing up at the winner's house with a giant check. People usually enter these contests by filling out forms online or through mail, and there's no purchase necessary to win, so they were very popular at one point. They're almost like your grandparents' version of TikTok giveaways, where one lucky commenter randomly gets a ton of stuff. According to authorities, the elderly victim, who showed early signs of dementia, borrowed money from her retirement funds and her stocks to make payments on the taxes needed to claim the prize. When the scammers demanded more, she turned to her credit union, where staff questioned her. She had been coached to respond that she was buying a boat, not revealing the supposed sweepstakes win. The victim unfortunately sent out 3 checks totaling $477,000. Bank footage helped detectives trace Michael Lawrence, but at that point, most of the money had already vanished. Sadly, only $40,000 of the stolen money was recovered. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd talked about the difficulty of recovering funds in scams like these, pointing out the challenges for both victims and investigators. He warned the public to be cautious of unsolicited requests for money through phone calls, emails, or social media, stressing that such contacts are often fraudulent. Lawrence has been charged with grand theft and obtaining property by fraud, facing a $25,000 bond on each charge. As of the release of this video, investigators continue to search for Max Richards, hoping to bring him to justice. The victim, sadly, has been stuck with a pretty substantial debt against her retirement savings, a harsh consequence of the deception she endured. As we always like to remind our viewers, please warn your elderly loved ones about these scams. This stuff is happening way too much, and they need to be protected. Number 1. Another false accusation nightmare. Daniel Pearson, a 41-year-old man from Pennsylvania, spent 31 days behind bars after being falsely accused of a crime. Daniel Pearson was arrested when a woman named Angela Borisova-Urumova accused him of attempting to kidnap and violate her in a supermarket parking lot. Urumova claimed Pearson had tried to disrobe her, physically harm her, and then try to carry her back to his truck. Authorities took her claim seriously, as they should, and Pearson was arrested based on her identification and a description of his vehicle. However, after further investigation, serious inconsistencies in Urumova's story popped up. Apparently, Urumova didn't understand that telling serious lies about others can have serious consequences. Investigators gathered surveillance footage and reviewed Urumova's phone data, both of which contradicted her version of events. When confronted with the evidence, Urumova admitted she had made up the entire story. She confessed that Pearson hadn't gone after her and revealed that she targeted him because she found him creepy after seeing him in the parking lot previously. The injuries she claimed were from an unrelated incident involving her grandmother. As a result, Pearson was released and all charges against him were dropped. Unfortunately, he had already spent a month in jail before this exoneration. Meanwhile, Urumova was charged with filing false reports, tampering with evidence, and making unsworn falsifications to authorities. So Daniel Pearson, who was innocent and just going about his life, legit had to deal with being thrown in jail for a month because some genius decided he was creepy. Who does this lady think she is? She needs to be tossed in jail too. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section what you'd rather have. The ability to travel 100 years into the future once, but never be able to return to the present, or the ability to travel 100 years into the past, but only be able to observe without interacting or changing anything.